Welcome to the Other Side Pod. I'm Nadine. We're not experts. We're just humans having a human experience we think you can learn from, or relate to, or laugh at, or cry over. So hit download, dive in, and hear how folks found themselves on the other side. We're recording.
Hello.
Okay, Tesia, it's fall. I mean, this won't come out for a
Yes.
little bit, but still it'll be relevant because fall lasts in Ottawa and it's beautiful. What is
The
your
best season.
the best? What is your favorite meal to make in the fall?
Oh, my favorite meal to make. Well, first of all, I despise cooking. I will start with that. I love eating, but I really don't like cooking.
I guess I should have started with do you like cooking? But okay, what's your
No, it's
favorite?
okay. I mean, I think we all assume that, right? But no, I love, what do I love to cook in the fall? So I'm born in October and the fall is very much my season. I'm a Libra, very like air sign, happy to be here. And so I would say that my favorite fall meal is like a good Thanksgiving dinner. Although I do not partake in the cooking of it, I certainly will eat a good couple of plates.
You know what? Thanksgiving meals is also David's wheelhouse. Like I do not do that either. We both actually like to cook depending on if we have time. But a family meal or like a big friend meal, David is so good at it because I'll get caught up in like the different pieces being perfect and being delivered at the same time and this and that. And so I don't even touch it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be stressed out. And he just has it down to a science. And
Oh,
I
he's so
mean,
good.
maybe he won't
That's
listen to
so
this.
amazing.
He's a better big meal cook than I am.
I love that. I love that. Well, I married into a Greek family, so I'm very fortunate to have some incredible cooks on my in-law side of the family. My sister-in-law is like an incredible cook, and my husband actually surprisingly also a very good cook too.
Oh,
Even though he doesn't cook very often, he is an
he's a good
incredible
one.
cook. Yeah, he's a good one.
Oh my
I know I'm
God.
lucky.
Let me come over for dinner when we do our next podcast.
Done. Done. Part two. Greek food.
Yeah, part three. Okay, so tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Tasha. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I've been in practice for just about 8 years now. I absolutely love it. I definitely feel as though I found my dream career. And it's so funny, we just, dive right into the work side of things. And somebody asks, who are you? Tell us about yourself. I would say kind of more on the personal side of things. I'm definitely a creative type. My head is in the clouds. I love to think. I love to write. I love to create. And so I do, have the opportunity to do a lot of that creating piece in my work with folks in therapy and on the business side of things as well, which is awesome. I'm the founder and the co-director of a mental health clinic in Ottawa, working alongside my incredible business partner, Alyssa. When we do part two, we're going to all
Yes,
chat about that.
yes. And Shine Mental Health Collective, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. 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 We're a little collective of psychotherapists and we treat a pretty wide variety of mental health concerns, symptoms, things like that. So, if you're looking for a therapist,
Yeah, I just
call
made a
me.
note actually to put the link in the bio to your website. Yeah, will
Awesome.
do. And
Awesome.
to your Instagram actually, because that's great.
Oh, yes.
I forgot, right. We talked, I mean, we've met many times, but you write. I kind of forgot that for a moment. What kind of writing do you do?
I'm kind of dabbling a little bit with short stories right now, which has been a lot of fun.
Or
I
nonfiction?
am doing a little blending of both. So I kind of put writing on the back burner for a little while. You know how it is
Yeah.
as a writer. You really do. My undergrad is in literature, not psychology, which is kind of cool. And so I did a ton of writing prior to my undergrad, did a ton of writing in my undergrad, both like research and also a lot of creative work, which is a lot of fun. And so I love writing poetry, short stories. I wrote an ebook during COVID, which is kind of cool as well. I mean,
What?
that's a little fun fact. I know I don't even know if I have it like posted anywhere anymore, but it was
What?
a mental health guide for surviving the pandemic.
Oh, wait, we need a link to that. Do you still, are you
Yeah.
comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to like find a way to upload it. I'll put it on my website or something like that.
Oh, I didn't
But it
know
was
you
fun.
did that. Mental health ebook. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm making notes. I'm making notes. I mean, I know we could sit and talk about literally everything from Greek food to ebooks to undergrads to, but what I want to share, I mean, I'm sure we'll meet here a million times, let's be honest.
Hmm.
But we chatted
100%.
about you breaking your flipping back. What was the day?
Yeah. August 19th,
Ugh,
2019.
2019. And you go to a
Mm-hmm.
spa with a friend
Yep.
and
Yep.
take it from there. Tasha, tell
Oh,
us.
this was a beautiful sunny day. We arrived at the spa. Life was good, celebrating my friend's birthday. And we, were just bopping around doing the hot tub, cold plunges, that kind of stuff. And then we paused for lunch. And shortly after, I was relaxing on one of the hammocks. And the hammock, unfortunately, was hanging over this like massive boulder and a couple of rocks right underneath. And it was a little bit higher, I think, than most hammocks as well. And so I was laying on the hammock and all of a sudden the hammock broke and I landed basically spine to rock. And just like the mechanism of the fall, the way in which I landed, the way my body landed, just kind of resulted in a really gnarly back injury. Yeah. So
Okay,
that's what
even
happened.
though I know the story, and even though I knew at the moment, in the time, I wasn't there with you, as you say it, I still, I'm not kidding,
Yeah.
get cold shivers up because
I
like
know, me
what
too. I
are,
just got chills talking about it too.
yeah, what are the chances? So you land there. Okay, close your eyes
Yeah.
for a sec. You land there. What what happens? Take us through it?
So I landed there and I was laying up. Sorry, I was like on my back, staring up at the sky. And I remember bursting out into laughter. So
Oh,
I started giggling quite a
okay.
bit. My friend ran over, she's laughing, I'm laughing. I'm like, ha 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 ha. Ha. And she's like, okay, time to get up. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I try to roll over. And then that's when I think I'd realized how intense the injury actually was because my entire body went into cold shivers. I broke out into a sweat. I was shaking. I felt super, super nauseous, really dizzy right away. So I kind of like shimmied back on my back and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm okay. Like, I don't, this is not good. Yeah,
So
couldn't
do
really
you
feel my legs. Like,
oh
it
God.
was weird. It
Do
was
you
a weird feeling. I've never
remember
had that before.
do you remember feeling like intense pain at the start, or do you think your body went into shock? Like so you
I
didn't
think my body went into shock. I didn't really feel a lot of pain until the ambulance had arrived and they were trying to get me onto the stretcher. That was the point where I was like, "Oh my God, okay, this actually hurts." Because I
okay.
was, I was still kind of laughing. I think I do have like a humor as a defense mechanism, kind of a personality trait.
Can relate.
So
Yeah,
I was like,
because
"Ha ha
you're
ha, what is
quite
going on?"
vulnerable. You're laying there probably in like a bathing suit, a
Yeah,
towel, or a robe or
yeah.
something. And
Oh
then,
yeah, I was just chilling in my bikini, like hanging
right.
out there, giggling.
And so your friend sees that you're like, I can't really feel my legs, or I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you say to her to go get help? Or does she just know?
I think she just knew. She knew right away. I don't really remember sort of like all of the series of events. I don't remember the fall, but I remember landing. Like I remember being there. I remember the cold sweats. And then next thing you know, the ambulance arrived. The ambulance drivers were, they were very, very quick, super responsive. And then I was taken to a hospital in Quebec. I didn't have the greatest experience there. And
And
then, oh, it was just, it's so interesting. The Quebec healthcare system is very different than the Ontario one. And so I arrived and they tried to just, get me off of the stretcher and into the waiting room. And I was trying to tell them like, hey, I actually cannot feel the lower half of my body. Like this isn't good. And, I'm trying to speak French and blah, blah, blah. So I was hanging out basically in a stretcher in the hallway for I think it was like a day and a half. And so
wait,
my
wait.
husband came.
No,
Oh yeah.
wait.
Oh
I
yeah.
I thought you were going to be like
Yeah.
4 hours and I was going to
No,
feel for you. A day and a
no.
half?
Yeah, it happened on a Monday, and I think I finally left the Quebec hospital and was transferred to the Civic. I can't remember if it was like a Tuesday afternoon or if it was a Wednesday afternoon, but it was like I was there for a good 24 plus hours.
Oh my God.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
because we both live in Ottawa. So for people that don't
Yeah.
know, Ottawa and Quebec are super close. So this
Yeah.
place that you were at is like maybe what, a half hour drive from downtown Ottawa?
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
not. Right. Like it was quite
It was
close. And
closer.
I think I remember trying to tell them to take me to the Civic or to take me to the Ottawa side, but I ended up in Gatineau.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So did you even see a doctor in the Quebec hospital?
That's what I don't remember. So they took an X-ray where they actually weren't able to see anything. And then that's why I think they were like, okay, we're not really sure what to do, but I couldn't feel my legs. I was in such extreme pain at this point. Like I couldn't like twist. I couldn't even sit up. And my head was ringing too. We found out later that I actually also got a concussion, a pretty nasty concussion from the fall. And so I was like really disoriented. It wasn't really making a ton of sense. I was kind of in and out. They'd give me like some pain medication, but it wasn't anything too strong. Like it was likely like I don't know, Advil or Tylenol or something like that. So I think I remember seeing a doctor and they said from the X-ray they couldn't find anything, so they couldn't figure it out. I then later figured out that they actually X-rayed like the wrong part of my spine. They X-rayed from like my T spine and I guess like my C spine because they were worried about like a neck injury, but my injury was on like the lower, like on my lumbar spine. So I think they completely missed where the actual injury was, which was wild. And so after being there for a while, they were like, oh, okay, based on the x-rays, like it looks like you're okay. And I was like, I'm not okay. Like this cannot be it.
Right.
And so we actually had just arranged for an ambulance transfer to the Civic, at which point they were incredible. They were really, really, really awesome. I was seen right away. They wheeled me right in, X-ray, MRI, you name it. At which point they'd found like the extent of my injury. And from there, I was admitted into the neuro ward
Okay,
for
before
observation.
we get to what the injury was, so you're lying there, you can't feel your legs at all?
No,
Oh my gosh, Aisha.
no,
What about could you wiggle your toes? I mean, I guess no.
no, no. I couldn't move anything from basically what felt like my belly button down.
And did they do any tests? I mean, when you watch whatever medical show they put a little pinprick or whatever. Did they do these tests? Could you
Yes.
feel those things?
I couldn't feel anything. Yeah, so they did all of that and then they tested like, hearing, vision, everything like that. Everything seemed okay, but they were like, yeah, you definitely have a concussion. And then yeah, I mean, they did the whole thing where they like try to lift your leg, they try to get you to push and I was like, I can't. And it was so strange because it wasn't like a pins and needles, like my legs had fallen asleep. It's almost like there was no lower half of my body. It
Oh
was weird.
my. You had to be terrified.
You know, I I wasn't at the time, if
Okay.
that makes sense. Like I think I was still in a lot of shock. And the minute that I arrived at the Civic, because they had actually really seen and were able to assess like the full extent of my injury, they put me on some pretty heavy pain medication. So I think I was just kind of in and out,
Right.
you know, just riding like the pain med high. And I was really overly it only really hit me a couple of days in.
Okay. So you're
Yeah.
at the Civic. How long were you at the Civic in total?
I was there I want to say like just over 2 weeks
Okay.
total from the fall to my discharge.
Okay.
So the extent of my injury, I had a handful of microfractures to I think it was like L4, L5, and S1 with the like your that yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Some anatomy person can check me on that later.
But multiple fractures along the lower part of your spine.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I had three discs that were, I don't know if they were like completely out or if they were bulging pretty substantially. And then I had a lot of nerve damage to it was mostly localized to the right side of my body. But the reason why I couldn't feel anything is because there was so much swelling and I guess some fluid built up. So I had a pretty extensive bruise to, I guess it's like your QL and like a lot of the nerves around the area were really badly affected. So I did start to regain sensation a couple of days in, which was so relieving and
Oh,
so incredible. That definitely really changed my mindset, I would say. When I started to feel, my legs were starting to that's when I kind of turned into some pins and needles and I'd have a lot of nerve pain, but I could still feel. And then I was able to kind of regain a bit of movement. And, we're talking like maybe about a week and a half in, I was actually able to like feel pretty much everything except for a good chunk of my right side was not paralyzed, but the sensations were paralyzed for quite a bit.
oh, okay. Were you able
Yeah.
to walk yourself out of there when you got discharged 2 weeks later?
No, no, I was able to stand, but just for like a very, very, very small amount of time.
What are we
So
talking?
what,
Like a minute, 30 seconds?
no, 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 like maybe like 5, 10 seconds,
Okay.
just enough to like prop myself up. They wanted me to be able to get myself up, push myself out of bed, and then make it to a seat. That was basically my test to get discharged from the hospital.
And that took how much effort?
Everything,
Mm.
everything. Yeah. I
Bef-
think everything, yeah.
before you broke your back, you were pretty physically active, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Like
Yeah. I always have been.
what is the hardest endurance thing you've done before this?
Before this, the hardest endurance thing would have been an Olympic distance triathlon. So
Right.
I really got into triathlons. I used to run quite competitively. So I grew up running. I love swimming. I did a lot of swimming growing up, lifeguarding, swim coaching, all that stuff. And then after, or I think maybe even during university, I was running track and then decided to pivot to, well, get out of varsity university sports and kind of more just like for funsies.
Yeah.
And so I did a handful of triathlons. I started cycling
Yeah.
and it was just so much fun. Like I definitely am an endurance junkie, as I call it.
So before standing up and getting yourself, pushing yourself out of a hospital bed and getting yourself to a chair in like 10 seconds, the amount of effort that took, before that, you were doing a lot of things that took a lot of effort. So
Yeah.
I asked that because, not that it makes any difference if someone it was physically active or not, a broken back is a broken back. It just in your mind must have been a real, for lack of better words, mind fuck that all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
probably sweating, you can hardly get yourself there. Like what happens in your head when as you're walking yourself from the bed to the chair in this moment?
I just had to do it. You know what I mean? Like I knew that that's what it would have taken to get back to any level of physical activity. They really weren't sure what the long-term consequences would have been with an injury like this. I think it would have been very heavily dependent on my rehab, on, the I guess the level of commitment and dedication that I'd really put into it just to make sure that I could get to walking maybe at some point. The one thing that they couldn't really assess for a while was the nerve damage, because sometimes it can take a little bit of time to really figure out, like, okay, how extensive is this type of an injury? And that's sort of something that again, I'm not a physician. I'm not, I don't really understand the stuff a lot, but the nerve damage and of course, like the discs and, the fractures and everything like that, like once that started to clear up a bit, I think that's when we were able to kind of determine whether or not I would be, walking well, and then likely, they said likely not getting back into running, but they were hopeful for walking. So
Mm.
I was locking in on being able to walk again because I knew physical activity for me it's a non-negotiable.
Where in the world do you go though when someone's like, "We hope you'll be able to walk again"? Like I just knock on wood. I hope I never know. So I'm asking you.
Yeah. It's funny because it didn't hit me until later. I like to call myself like a 3 to 5 business day processor. And I think that helps me a lot in my career as a therapist because I can be very present with very difficult and unpleasant emotions. I'm quite resilient and I can, well, I mean, maybe for better or for worse, compartmentalize very well. And so I think for me, my focus was just on my rehab. And it was almost this like, well, I have no other choice. So I'm just going to lock in on this. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, I don't think the emotions really hit me until quite a bit later. Because
Okay.
I just had to do it.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was quite distressing and I had some big moments, but I was quite well supported. And, I am somebody who tends to be quite persistent and determined. And, when I lock in on a goal, I'm pretty good about, achieving that goal.
So they're like, well, here are the steps that we need to take in order to hopefully get you to walk again. Instead of
Yeah.
focusing on the words, hopefully get you to walk again, which could have like mentally paralyzed you and probably would for many people just like sitting there with that information. Your mind goes to, okay, tell me what I have to do. I'm going to go do these things.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yes.
So you get discharged. Wait, your family's not in Ottawa, right?
So they were in Ottawa for a little bit at the time. My dad's retired military. So, I have a history of growing up moving around a lot. And my parents were living in the States for a bit. They've since moved back to Ottawa for a little while. So it was great because I did have my parents kicking around.
Okay.
Yeah, they were here. My mom was in the hospital almost every single day. She brought me snacks, she brought me coffees. So that was awesome. She was a hugely supportive. And in my husband as well. We weren't married at the time. He was my boyfriend back then, but he was just an absolute rock star during this. And I really couldn't have done it without them.
How long were you guys together before when this happened?
How long were we together? About 3 years, I would say. Yeah, about 3 years. So like kind of a new-ish relationship, but him and I had gone through a couple of things prior to this. He unfortunately lost his mother suddenly about a year
Mm.
into our relationship. And so that was a huge, huge, huge blow. And I think just being able to withstand a grief like that had really brought us really close together. And, I was really able to hold a lot of space for him. He was able to be fully vulnerable, fully himself, and really lean into that kind of support. So I think, having gone through and withstood a trauma like that very early in our relationship made it so that, he was just fully there for me and for everything I needed as well. And it was
Oh,
super cute. Like after when we he obviously brought me back home and we had made a couple of adjustments to our little apartment, like some railings around there, around the place, just so I can kind of like move around. And I was in a wheelchair. I could walk a couple of steps with the walker, but not very far, just enough basically to make it to the washroom. Like he would plop me in my wheelchair and then like I guess take me for little rides around. So he would like push me to Starbucks. We'd go get a little coffee, push me to the grocery store. We go get groceries, and he had a little bike rack for his Volkswagen Jetta. So he would like put my wheelchair on the bike rack, and it was so cute.
so you lived together at the time.
We did, yeah. We were
Okay.
living together. Yeah,
Okay, so when you get home, I mean, 3 years in, he's primary caregiver, I'm gonna assume,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How did he
He
adapt to
really
that
was.
role? How did you guys adapt when you moved when you went back home from the hospital?
It that's when I think it started to really sink in for me emotionally. It was tough. It was really, really, really tough. And I think when I was, we gotten out of the hospital finally, didn't have to pay for the civic hospital parking anymore, which was fantastic for our credit card. Stell he was there. He was present. My mom as well. Like she'd pick me up and take me to get a bunch of groceries. I had two incredible supervisors at the time too. So I was able to take a pretty good chunk of time off of work.
Okay.
So of course I wasn't able to travel to the office, and just the thought of seeing clients when you're in that state was not happening.
Right.
And so we adapted well, I would say, in spite of it being really, really difficult and definitely, a tough obstacle and a tough hurdle for us to navigate. We found a way to do it, right? We kind of have always had this life is hard, but we're in this together kind of mentality, I think, as a couple. And I think that really, really helped us get through something like this.
Were you ever worried about the ask for him to take care of you?
Yeah, 100%. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes, I'm the eldest daughter of a military family. I do not ask for help. I really don't. I am painfully independent. And I
Right.
think that was actually one of the hardest things for me was to accept the help. I would very, very, very frequently like either maybe trigger a little bit more pain than I needed because I might have pushed myself a little bit too hard, or, had gotten up and like finally made it to the kitchen to get a snack without asking. But then of course, like making it back was quite the journey back to the bed. Right. And so yeah, that was tough. And he really challenged me in a really good way just to say, listen, like you need to ask for help. You need to accept this kind of a help. And, if you're making your pain worse, that's hard on both of us. So figure it out, buddy.
Right. That's a really wise way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I and a lot of people are similar in that we can be pretty awful to ourselves and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
But when you realize the effect you're having on somebody else for some reason, and it makes me almost sad and like compassionate towards myself in that moment. 'Cause I'm like, oh my God, okay,
Oh,
why couldn't I just like give that to myself instead of needing to think of somebody else to be that to myself? But kudos to him for saying that because it's probably exactly what you needed to hear.
it really was. It really was. And honestly, like I could not have gone through this without him. And still to this day, like he's just the greatest human alive. I'm very lucky. I know.
Nice. And what
I
about,
know.
because how old were you when this happened?
I was 25,
Right.
25 turning 26. So I was a baby.
So it's like such a socially, well, I know obviously COVID came like less than a year later, but in general, in that August 2019, when this happened, you're 25, it is such a socially, I don't know if this is the right word, socially engaged time. Like we're out with our friends a lot.
Yeah.
Like our
Yeah.
friends morph into our family in that time. So that affect your friendships? Did it affect your friendships?
Oh, it certainly did. It was interesting because to your point, COVID did hit, in March of that year. So I feel as though like the fall, when I got back from the hospital, I was just really focused on rehab. I had some friends who would come visit me every now and again, but I wasn't necessarily able to go off and, do the fun things, let's say. I'll never forget when I went to my husband's work Christmas party. I was kind of walking a little bit. I wasn't really able to walk too much, but I really didn't want to show up with like my walker. So I got a pair of crutches and I just like brought one crutch and I was like hobbling around. And I remember my leg was like starting to completely go numb because that was one of the bigger challenges I would have is that my right leg would start to lose a lot of sensation pretty quickly whenever I would exhaust myself. So that was something that I was working on pretty adamantly in the rehab center. But I really wanted to make it. So there's this adorable photo of us at the Christmas party and we're like this and I had my little crutch and I'm so happy. But then I, took off pretty early because I hurt.
It was just like a goal. Like, I'm going to get out to
Yeah.
this thing. I'm going to put some, like, a nice dress or
Yeah.
whatever on. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You're gonna put makeup on for the first time in 4 months and
Yeah. You
let's
just want
just
to feel
go.
human again.
I know. I
So,
know.
right. So, your friends, I mean, at the very beginning, you're just so focused on healing that you probably didn't have much energy to give to friends. So, they would pop in, just check on you. But yeah, you weren't yourself, I'm going to assume.
Mm-mm. No, no, I wasn't, but I didn't realize how not myself I was. I don't think I really understood the full impact that that injury had on me, as I mentioned, like until quite a bit later, maybe even until after COVID had hit. So I definitely felt a lot of, I mean, retrospectively looking back on it, I could see myself feeling like a lot of guilt for, having to meet in a place that was like either very accommodating or having to like organize a ride or I think all of those things kind of prevented me from maybe like reaching out to a lot of people and like initiating some hangouts or anything like that because it just kind of felt like this massive barrier. And then of course I was super busy with appointments. Like I had physio, chiro, I went to the rehab center very frequently, and I think just like my recovery was taking up a ton of time and headspace. And so, yeah, it definitely, yeah, I mean, I have some really incredible friends. So everybody was super accommodating. They were really understanding. So I feel as though it didn't really impact that as much because again, it was, hey, we'll be here when you're ready and when you need us,
Right.
and they were, which is awesome.
I forgot about asking you about this actually, your rehab, like how you actually eventually not got better. 'Cause I don't know, for some reason got better just sounds like you weren't, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's
I
for
do.
lack of
I
better
do.
words, for lack of better words.
Right. I healed it. I healed
Yeah.
it.
So from getting home to the hospital to the first time you could leave your house unassisted, even if you knew you had a limited amount of time for how much energy you would have, how long to the moment when you could leave by yourself and feel pretty confident that you were going to be okay for, I don't know, an hour on your own?
Maybe like 6-ish months. But I wasn't like, it kind of depends. Like I was able to go to the grocery store to pick up a couple of things. That
Mm.
was good. And I remember in the winter, like after Christmas, after New Year's, around January, February, I was like, easing back into work. So I was able to drive myself to work and then drive home, which was good. I used to drive this little Mazda, like a stick shift Mazda. So I unfortunately had to get rid of her and she was just the greatest car in the world. But because of the injury, I couldn't drive standard anymore. So we got in a new car and it's a tough question to answer because first of all, it feels like a huge blur. Secondly, the there it was almost kind of like stages. You know what I mean? Like when I didn't need my wheelchair as much, I would say like about 6 months in, I was able to walk a little bit, but I needed, certain walking assisted or sorry, certain devices to walk. So, either crutches or a cane. I had my little walker for a little while, and my mom put this little basket on it, so I was able to carry my stacks around.
Important.
And I did a couple of things, but I definitely didn't want to leave the house as much just because it was, again, as I said, like a pretty big undertaking and there was a lot of sort of logistics around it, but eventually I was able to get myself to my appointments and really focus on that, which is good.
And so your point, do you still do appointments for,
I do.
yeah,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
do you,
yeah, I do. I do. So I have an incredible chiropractor. He's awesome. So every now and again I'll go tune in with him. And then I still am seen at the Ottawa Rehab Center by a physiatrist. And a physiatrist is basically a physician who's special. It's almost like the physiotherapy version or the doctor version of a physiotherapist.
Huh.
And so, I have this incredible physiatrist at the Ottawa Rehab Center who, I only see him maybe about once every 6 months to a year. I get cortisone injections. I actually haven't had one in well over a year now, which has been great. So we're kind of like weaning off of those. But the cortisone injections really helped with a lot of the inflammation, and it kind of sped up the healing process, which is really great.
Nice.
It's really good pain management
Right. So
intervention.
from looking at now at your appointments, your check-in once every 6 months, and then your chiro every now and then when you feel a need for it. Rewind back to, I don't know, let's say November 2019. How many, like, what kind of healthcare professionals were you seeing?
Oh my gosh. What healthcare professionals I'm not seeing? I think that'd be a shorter answer. Of course, my physiatrist, I had a neurologist. I was seeing, again, chiro, physio. I was pretty heavy in physio for a bit because both with obviously the back injury, but then also with my concussion, like I saw
Oh,
a
right.
vestibular therapist who kind of really helped with some of that, as I did not realize how impactful the concussion was. I think because I was so focused on my back. So I had a physio for vestibular, physio for the back, massage, acupuncture. I did acupuncture for a bit too. That was kind of fun. I don't know if it really helped, but I like to think it was helpful because it was very calming, right?
Mm.
Like it really kind of calmed down the system a little bit.
Which does help in healing, right? For
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
How long were you off work?
I was off work for 3 to 4 months. I started seeing some clients virtually again, which honestly was very helpful that I had created a couple of really good systems for myself because, of course, we all know what happened March 2020.
Right.
So I was pretty prepared for COVID. And honestly, I will say, I know COVID was just, it absolutely wrecked the world in so many ways. But in terms of my own recovery, it was helpful.
In what way?
Just being forced to stay home. I had a little bit more time to really focus on my injury. I didn't have to go around as much. I feel as though I was probably pushing it a lot more than I needed to, just trying to get back to work quickly, trying to get back to life very quickly. And I didn't recognize the ways in which that may have actually been hindering my healing,
Yeah.
right? Because I think I was just maybe in like denial, you know what I mean? And oftentimes we do talk a lot about grief. Grief was, was something that really hit me with this injury, and it did not hit me until well into COVID, let's say, because again, it was a lot of grief for a life that I had felt like I lost,
Right.
right? This
Okay.
version of myself that I had lost.
Tell me more about that. When and how and why do you think the grief hit when it did?
Well, the grief hit immediately when I hit the ground,
Hmm.
but it started with denial. Of course, as we know, denial being one of the first stage of grief. And I wasn't cognizant or connected. And I don't know if it's because I wasn't allowing myself to be, but I really refused, again, not consciously, but very unconsciously, refused to, I guess, accept the impact and the consequences of this injury. I definitely lived in denial for a little while. Yeah, she was my friend. She wasn't a very good friend,
No, I've been
but she
there.
got me through the first couple of months.
We've hung out from time to time.
Mhm. We're acquainted, aren't we?
Yeah, we all are. So, COVID kind of forces you, I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong. You're so focused on your recovery and you're so in it. It is so prominent in your life that you can't really think about anything else. You're like touching base with friends when you have the energy to. Your partner's
Yeah,
taking care of you. Your mom and dad are there popping in. So you feel supported, but probably you're just like in this bubble of recovery and trying to take it a
yeah,
day at a time.
yeah.
You slowly start to get yourself back to work. You take clients virtually, and then COVID hits. And I'm
Yes.
guessing it's almost like permission to stay home and heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I,
Bingo.
I can relate that you want to push your way forward for sure. I get that. I broke my ankle. It was not at all like a broken back. But when you said about feeling guilty for having to lean on people to pick you up, or yeah, same. And I forgot that I had that feeling. And the minute you said, why are we like this? Because
I
oh my
know.
God, if someone if yeah, picture the person in your life that, breaks something and says and you want to go out to dinner with them or bring them to a movie or whatever, just go see them. You would never
Oh,
blink. about picking them
Or
up in the, oh my gosh, we're so mean to
I
ourselves
know.
sometimes. Okay,
No, we
so
really are. We really
yeah,
are.
we
I'm no
really
stranger to
are.
that. My inner critic's an asshole.
Yeah, same. And COVID also for me was a gift in that it made me sit with myself and admit some
Yes.
things that were happening in my life as well. So parallel lives in some ways. So COVID for you, you sit there, you can't go out, the world is shut down. Everyone's in their own stage of
Yes.
grief, denial, whatever's happening because everyone went through shit during COVID. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh, yeah.
in some capacity for sure.
100%, absolutely. And a
Yeah.
lot of people were going through what I was going through, not in the way that, not a lot of, I don't know anybody else who broke their back right before COVID, but in the way of really recognizing that like their life has changed and they are now forced to sit with themselves. I joke that COVID was like one of the best things to happen to my business as a therapist, which is a horrible thing to say because the world was going to shit.
Right.
And everybody needed support and they needed support very quickly. So, I mean, it was good on the work side of things because I then recognized how much of my self-worth I, ascribed to work, to, my work identity as a psychotherapist, which was really cool until it wasn't, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so grief, she really showed up a lot right after COVID had hit.
So you sit there. Wait, sorry, to back up. You opened Shine Mental Health Collective when?
2022. So October 22 is when we got the keys and then officially opened her doors January of 2023. So it was a little bit into COVID.
I love that you said her doors, but anyway.
I know.
So
Well,
during
Krish is a
20,
woman.
I know, I love that. So in 2019, when you broke your back and moving into when COVID hit, you worked at another clinic. You were,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And so you're growing your own client base in that time. Okay. So back to that moment. So I don't know, let's say 6 months into COVID, when we really did have to sit with ourselves for a very long time. How did grief show up for you?
I think that's when I started to get really angry. So really, really, really angry towards myself, towards the world, towards everything and anything. I think I definitely felt a crap ton of anger. I felt a lot of sadness as well. It really showed up in this like in this sense of heaviness. And it almost I kind of equated to a bit of an identity crisis. My life for so long. I was this able-bodied, very high-performing individual who was able to do, triathlons and run half marathons and do all of these really cool things with my body. And so I feel as though when COVID had hit and I was really able to sit with myself and I had this time, I had this permission to really process, I guess, the full extent of what had happened, I was like, who the fuck am I? Like, what am I doing?
Right.
What is going on? Like I felt as though my body was betraying me, even though I know it wasn't my fault. It was a freak accident,
Hmm.
right? But I was angry and I was frustrated and I was sad and I missed being able to just process all of those emotions with exercise, right?
Yeah,
As we all did. I could hop on
can
my bike and yeah, honestly, I'm
can
like, now I have to
relate.
sit here. I can't fucking move. I have to sit here with
Yeah.
these ceiling now, you know?
Oh, I remember
So,
lying there with my broken ankle propped up on a couple of pillows, and I was laying in my bed, and I felt like I wanted to crawl outside of my skin.
mhm.
And I was sitting in a virtual appointment, I don't know, probably that week with my therapist at the time. And she was like, you know you're addicted to exercise, right? And I'm like, what? No. I was like, no, I get that
Me?
it seems that way because I own a couple of gyms, but I'm not. And she was like, right. And then she said to me,
Well,
when it causes you so much distress that you can't do something, that is an addiction. And I'm like, no, I'm upset because she was like, it's
no,
okay.
bitch.
Yeah.
That's an addiction.
Right? And
Real.
and then to have to sit there and not be able to like, I don't know, even go walk my dog and think about it, something to process it. Oh my God. And so now, fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm with this other really lovely therapist because I love me a therapist. And
As we all do.
yeah. And so I'm trying to figure out, my next step after I sold my businesses. I'm like, hey, who am I now? And she's like, you know what? Maybe she was helping me work through something. And she's like, maybe go for like a nice hike or da da da. And I was like, FYI, that's like a yes, that helps me process. But just so you know, this is also
Just
something
so
that
you're aware.
I use to not actually connect with myself. I can very easily disconnect and go do a half Ironman. Like this, these are the things I
Yeah.
would have done and then have done. And she
Yeah.
was like,
Good for you
noted.
for clocking that.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's huge.
I'm like, just so you know, like we have a good relationship now, me and exercise, but just so you know, it's where I can easily
Yes.
go. Okay, so you're sitting there, you're not able to move, you're not your body isn't reacting the way it used to, you're not able to process the way you used to. Ugh, how uncomfortable does it feel just to have to sit with anger? I hated it, Tasia. I was like, make me not angry. And my therapist is
Oh
like,
my
no,
God.
I'm going to help you feel angry. And I was like, ah, how did you
Whoa.
learn to
Didn't sign
feel
up for this.
right? I'm not paying you for this. Yes, you are. How
Yes, you are.
did you feel feeling angry? I know that sounds insane, but like, seriously,
Well,
how does it feel to feel angry?
well, first of all, it didn't feel fantastic, but it really taught me, oh my gosh, it taught me so much. It like this back injury, though it was arguably one of the worst things that has happened to me, it has taught me so much about everything, about my relationship with myself, my relationship with exercise, my relationship with my emotions. And so, to answer your question, I think I just had no choice but to feel it, right? To feel it in my body and to be with it for the first time ever, I would say, and to learn how to just allow these emotions to exist. I do know, and I knew this at the time, but I don't think I really knew this because, I'm trained as a psychotherapist. So, of course, you would think, I mean, she can definitely process her emotions really well, which could not be more wrong. But it taught me that, life is hard. Life is challenging. In fact, it's the first of the four noble truths in Buddhism. They say that life involves suffering, and there's no way around that. We can resist it, we can try to avoid it, but we're incurring more and more suffering on top of the inevitable truth, right? So I think I really had to practice what I was preaching and allow myself to feel it, the full weight of it. The denial, the anger, the sadness, the bargaining. Oh my God, the bargaining was wild,
Tell
right?
me about a bargaining moment.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What if I just had not gone to the spa? You know what I mean? Like, what if I just didn't go on that hammock, right? What if I had just chosen to do something else that day? What if I had gotten, I don't know, I can't even think of the examples. That just, it was a lot of bargaining, right? What if I hadn't gone to the hospital in Quebec? Could they have gotten this sooner? Like,
Mm,
could I have pushed more for that? Right?
right. It's like
Yeah.
self-blame, I guess. That's where you went. Like,
Yeah.
why did
Oh,
you pick
yeah.
that one? Why did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of self blame. A
So
lot of self blame.
your anger, it sounds like it was mostly, or at some point anyway, directed at yourself.
Yeah.
Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
ever direct it at anybody else?
I mean, I'm sure I was probably not the greatest to live with every now and again towards, my partner, my husband. But he's pretty good. Like he's all right. He's all right.
They can handle it.
They can. That's what we're there for. And he's the feeler of the relationship. So I do a lot of the holding space for that. So I
Oh,
think it was, but no, it was directed towards myself, and it was directed towards this existential meaninglessness of life as well. Like I was like, what's the point? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, why are we here? What are we doing? We're just this like tiny speck on this massive floating rock in space amongst these, galaxies, these endless galaxies to the edge of the universe. Like, and I'm here sitting with my fucking back pain.
Yeah.
Why? Right? So I got pretty lost in a lot of that for a while, which is kind of a cool place to be because again, it did teach me a lot, about life and meaning. And, I sort of revisited a lot of my, studies in literature and in philosophy at the time as well. So it kind of helped me, I guess, reshape my worldview. But, that's where I went. I took it out on myself and I took it out on whatever the hell is happening out there.
Right. Do you know what's so interesting that when you, we're just similar in this other way as well. At one point, I have a photo of the galaxy on my desktop and it's still saved. Actually, it's not my desktop photo anymore. Clearly, that's Theo now, the cutest baby boy in the world. But I
Oh,
have,
absolutely.
yeah, but I still have the photo of the galaxy there. And any now, like I can see it right now, it's a little thumbnail. Any time I have this like moment of what is the point of this, or just one of those moments when you need a little grounding, a little tethering to your moment. I open it and I look because I'm like, Nadine, there is all of this. Like, for me, it reminds me that instead of feeling, yes, we're just this tiny little speck in this ginormous
Yeah.
system. It actually, when I look at it and I just sit still for a minute, I'm like, the potential. There's so much potential because I can get lost in like, what am I doing, or or all the reasons why we should be doing something else, or this doesn't matter, or whatever we tell ourselves when we're in those moments. I'm like, I'm not here to do nothing. Like, look at all of the potential out there. Just like grab onto a piece of it. If it doesn't work, something else will. Because look at this, you know?
Yes.
Ah, I
Yes.
love it.
And it's
So,
so cool because a thought that I think ultimately would be very, it came from anger, it came from bargaining, it came from depression. But when you shift that,
yeah.
it's it's opportunity, right? Like
Yes.
it's this boundless possibility. And that actually, that deep and dark existential headspace actually turned into this hope for
Yeah.
me as well, in a way. And it really kind of helped me realign certain things and align my own mindset and my own attitude towards healing and towards everything that had happened. Right. I think
Same.
like the existentialism of it all was something that ultimately really ended up saving me.
Same. It's like in the moment, it was really scary. And I do feel for people
Yeah.
who may be there right now, maybe have been there for a long time and they're like, I can't get to the other side of that. But what a gift. And I don't know, like I had a really good therapist, I had a really good coach, good family, good friends to help me get through my moment. And from what I'm hearing from you, you had the same.
Yeah.
And I wish that for other people that are in it, because the other side of that like, this is meaningless, I'm lost in this big ginormous galaxy, like I can't find myself in it. There's something so beautiful about that. About I used to hate this feeling of being untethered in all my writing in the moment. I in that time I would write about being untethered because I felt untethered. Like I wasn't myself. I couldn't move my body the way I used
Yeah.
to. I was slowly starting to realize I needed to sell my businesses. I needed to shift a lot of things in my life. I was like, who am I if I am not all of these things that I've been working this past 40 plus years to be? And then what a gift to not be the person you've been working 40 plus years to be, actually, because
Right.
we can change. It's okay. And I'm not saying like, thank goodness you broke your back and you've changed, but like, you did,
Well,
you broke your back. I went through some stuff and we are where we are. And there's a gift in that.
yeah,
Yeah.
there really
Oh,
was. And listen, I'm not an everything happens for a reason kind of a person. Like I don't really love that expression for a good couple of reasons. But I do believe that, life is hard. And I think it's kind of brutally difficult by default. And, we have the choice to accept and embrace discomfort as part of growth, as part of, I think, an essential piece of growth and maybe a non-negotiable of growth, or we don't, or we
yeah.
spend our life, resisting it or avoiding it. Right. And so in that moment, that truth really allowed me to align myself with like, okay, well, I guess I got to be uncomfortable. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, all right, cool. Thanks, universe.
Do you think you would have opened up your own practice if this hadn't happened? I mean, I know that's a really hard question to answer because it happened and you opened your own practice, but I guess I'm asking, do you think it shifted your profession in the way that your profession has shifted?
You know what? That is a very good question. And I don't know if I would have a clear answer on if I would have done it, but I definitely feel significantly more fearless now because I know I can deal with it. You know what I mean? Like things don't necessarily scare me as much, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
doing something or at least like facing the unknown isn't necessarily something that freaks me out nearly as much as it did before all of this had happened.
right.
Right. And so I think like the unknown, where it may be, this deep, dark, open chasm of worry and anxiety, to me, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what are we gonna do? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like,
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a meaningless little speck in this floating rock in the fucking universe, right?
I'll figure it out. As
I'll
much as
figure it
it's
out. It's all
figure it
good.
outable, because it's
Everything is.
the
Everything's figure outable.
yeah, and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now you have 3 clinics, right?
Mhm.
And how
Yeah,
many
I do.
practicing?
I think there's close to 30 of us
Wow.
practicing. Yeah. Yeah. It's really
Amazing.
fun.
Ah.
Yeah.
And so, because of what you went through, you feel grounded, even though having three businesses with 30 people that work in it can be really challenging.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it has its ups and downs.
yeah, but you're like, not that you're welcoming challenge, but in a way, I suppose you are. Anybody who opens a business is welcoming challenge, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I am welcoming challenge. Again, I do want to credit my husband a lot to opening Shine. Like he was definitely the one who saw the opportunity. He's significantly more entrepreneurial than I am, right? Like I have a master's degree in people and emotions, right? The psychology of it all, that is my wheelhouse. I know I'm really good at what I do. I love what I do. I love people, I love learning, and I love creating. I don't love the ins and outs of business. Right. I can't, I'm 3 years into this and I still can't figure out bookkeeping. Right. I don't know what the hell to do for corporate taxes. That will send me into a coma. There's a lot of elements of being a business owner that I just do not do well. And, my husband he's super good at that kind of stuff. Like he's equally fearless in his own, entrepreneurial ways, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So he definitely was, he motivated me a lot and he helped me a lot. And, when we expanded to the third location, bringing on my business partner, Alyssa, was like the greatest decision ever. Right? She is so organized and she's just so, on top of her shit and she's so intelligent and she's so amazing. And so I think the two of us together, we complement each other beautifully. And so that really helped with the growth as well. It was just, having the right people in your corner. And again, going back to the injury, like teaching myself that it's okay to accept help, right? And that you kind of need it. You can't just, and you shouldn't just do these big things all by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Humans need relationships, right? We need that connection.
Yeah.
And if we're not connected with ourselves, we can't be connected with others.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, to that point, actually, have your relationship shifted now that you are more connected to yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
They really have. I feel as though, when you know who you are, you know what you stand for, the relationships in my life are just so genuine now.
Mm,
Like it really feels as though, the people who are with it are with it, and the people who are with you are with you.
right.
You just, you know what you want, you know what you need. And I feel as though you do attract a lot of folks who know what they want, know what they need as well. So, I have some incredible friendships. My relationship with my husband's never been better. He's just the greatest dude ever, as I've said probably 70 billion times on this podcast.
I hope he listens.
I hope so too. I actually do.
And what about
Don't tell him I told you this, but he's great.
but he's pretty good. And has it shifted how you work with your patients, with your clients?
Yeah.
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 So it's shaped
Yeah.
your practice as well.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, I understand suffering now, right?
Mm,
I really do. And I feel as though when you've gone through something like this and you've really allowed yourself to be in the pits of despair, you just get it. You're allowing yourself to be seen and you can really see others in that too. It's this cool thing. You kind of shift from empathy to compassion. And empathy is, I think it's one of the most beautiful human qualities, but empathy without boundaries is destruction, right? Like that is when
ooh.
yeah, oh yeah,
Say
empathy without
more.
boundaries.
Empathy
Yep.
without boundaries is destruction. Oh, I
Yeah.
feel like that's a whole other podcast. But
Oh,
can you say
girl.
a little bit more about that?
So empathy without boundaries, if you consider, I'll put myself in my own situation, like a psychotherapist who's holding space for the stories of somebody else. It's very easy for us to get really swept into that world and feel it. But then when we feel it, if we don't have boundaries, we don't have an understanding that that's not our pain. We can't be with that pain. We can't sit with that discomfort because we want to do something about it. We want to fix it, right? But then fixing it, it's kind of akin to just like turning on the lights and tell somebody to, turn that frown upside down, right? Like but that's not what we need when we're in pain. We need connection and we need somebody to see it and to just be with it without wanting to turn on the lights. And that's what compassion is. Compassion is bearing witness to discomfort. It's bearing witness to suffering without, this urge to want to like fix it or correct it to make it all better. It's understanding that like suffering and discomfort and pain are a natural part of life, just with the other stuff too. That you got to feel this in order to access the other stuff, right?
Where were you for me like 3 years ago? 4 years ago, you would have been so. No, I wasn't ready to listen. Okay.
Oh, me
Having
neither. Me neither.
having said that, it sparks a question. Did anybody try to force you to fix it more quickly than you were ready to?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yep. And it was funny too because I think like there was a part of me that wanted to fix it as well. And I think just kind of listening to that, it kind of made me maybe ignore the pain and the service of just trying to get back on that horse.
Hmm.
But I'm pretty grateful that I didn't listen to that and just kind of gave myself the time and space I really needed to. No one in my immediate life, which was good. You know, nobody
Yeah.
who's still with me now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Amazing. Thank you for that. That's I mean this I mean I love this whole story and I love this whole conversation, but I'm like, whoa, that's going to stick with me for a really long time in a really nice way
good.
because it is hard to sit with somebody, especially someone that you
It
love so
is.
deeply and dearly that are
I
going through a hard
know.
time and not try to turn the lights on for them. And you and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, I believe, when I was mentioning something that I was going through and I remember David being with me and asking me a particular question to help. I mean, he wasn't trying to turn on the light. He was trying to like plug in a night light. And
Oh, yes.
I wasn't even ready for the night light. So now it makes more sense. And he backed off, which
God.
I remember someone asked me like, how did he know to back off what a gift he gave you? Because I just had to
Yeah.
see things in my own time.
Yes.
Because if someone tries to turn on the light, it's almost like I feel like I'd want to slap the light off and probably prolong my own misery for another little bit.
100%. Absolutely. Pain needs one thing. Pain needs attention, right? Emotional pain, physical pain, it needs attention. It doesn't need to be fixed. It doesn't need to be rushed. It doesn't need to be healed. And I think healing is only possible with that attention, with that connection. And so, somebody rushing to turn on the lights and be like, oh, turn that frown upside down. Everything's fine. You're
Yeah,
okay. Rub some dirt in it or whatever. Like it's so dismissive because
yeah,
that's not attention. That's not connection. That's rushed, forced. I need you to manage your discomfort because this is making me so uncomfortable. Like that's what empathy is.
right.
Although, I do think there's elements of like connection and attention in empathy, but it can become very consuming. And so, something like this really taught me the importance of compassion, which is again that very witness of the
That's
pain and being with it.
that's so beautiful. Ah, how are you
Thanks.
today?
I'm well. I'm really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm thriving. I feel really content. I feel really happy. My injury is like significantly better. I still experience quite a bit of back pain, but I'm pretty good about managing it. This injury has really taught me the importance of listening to your body and respecting because she's the only one I have, and she's my best friend now. It took me a really long time to figure out that she's actually in this for me and with me and that she deserves my respect. She deserves my attention. So, her and I were on really good terms. We have not been on good terms for a very long time, and now we are. So that's again another little nugget that this injury has taught me to listen to my body. And I think since then, it's helped me with like my relationship with exercise, for example. And I'm back to running, which is awesome. So that's
Oh,
been emotional,
how does that feel when you're out for a run now?
amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, like nothing. It's not a chore anymore. I get to run. I have
right.
this gift of being able to run again, which is fantastic. I just ran my first marathon in the spring, which was the most emotional thing I think I've
Oh,
bawled my eyes out at the beginning, in the middle, and then at the end, I was a mess.
wow. I just got cold shivers again. We started and ended on cold shivers because you you left that hospital and they were like, "Hey, we hope you can walk." And you just ran a marathon. And you've loved running. Like running has been your constant
It's my
companion.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's my thing. It's my thing. It's what I was really good at. And now what I am, I don't know, I'm pretty okay at it, but I just love it. Like, so it doesn't matter if I'm fast anymore. It
Right.
matters if I can do it, right? And
And
if I
how
can
you
show up for
feel.
myself. Yeah.
Well, congratulations and thank you so much for telling us your story and being here. I
Oh,
love you. I just do. Like, oh
I
my
freaking love you too.
God. And we got to do this again. Like, we need to talk about
I
mental
know.
health.
I'm excited for part
Yeah,
two.
let's do. Okay, I mean, we can talk about that offline, but yeah, you're definitely coming back, probably more than once. And
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories. This is what I'm here for, you
And
know?
I am a story collector. Okay. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Mwah.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
Always.